Next, we have Derrick Coble. He was a former PhD student with Sue, and now he's at North Carolina A&T.
Okay. I would like to echo many of my peers and also the other mentors from the animal breeding and genetics group, and saying it's a pleasure to be here and talk and honor you, Sue. Um, what provides the name to the presentation is some of the work that my recently graduated master's student did. So the effects of managing Berkshire pigs and alternative rearing systems, and looking at that through blood profiles. Okay. So I wanted to start off with this. This is a work by E.B. Watts. So it's entitled Berkshire with Chickens. And I thought that would be a great entrance to this talk. But I would like to retitle this. And I would retitle this When Chickens Bring Friends Home to Roost. And we see our Sussex and our Buff Orpingtons. I can get it going. Okay, so this is a lab group or representation of from when I was in the group from 2008 to 2013. Pretty much everybody is represented except Demarius. So Angelica just took care of that because she had a picture of him or all of us at his graduation. But when I came in, we had Sarah Beth, we had Aaron, Jerron, and then of course Michael. That I think that's at Pad. This is at Sue's house. We had Lin Liang, so we had a host of visiting scientists during that time. Jing Hua, and then of course Jing Dong. So Jing Dong, I went back through my email. So I migrated my Gmail email over to my personal Gmail. So that's why I was able to get these some of these files. But this is from an old lab group meeting, old emails. So list of maiden names, Cheryl and and Beach, and of course Angelica's there too. So Damaris, I don't know what happened, man. Okay, so to serve as an overview for this presentation, I'm gonna talk about the problem that really motivates my research or kind of drives my research, some of the extension efforts to give context, and then also some of Nina's work, uh, a grant that we have that's housed here at Iowa State or headed up here, and also some of the current research. So I'm originally from North Carolina, so I came to Sue's group from North Carolina. And if you know anything about North Carolina, tobacco is to North Carolina what corn is to Iowa, right? And due to health issues and also social policies surrounding health concerns, it's been a decline for like the last 40 years. In recent years, tariffs and also competition has really made it or reduced the viability of tobacco as a crop. So pretty much we've had farmers in the tobacco belt that have been affected with their viability or sustainability of their farms. And this is a plug, not the smoke, but if you guys ever get to go to North Carolina in late summer, that's a bucket list to see those gently rolling hills with that yellow tobacco as it changes color. Okay, so North Carolina is also a top 3 pork producing state. So this it accounts for 44,000 jobs, also $5.9 billion in sales. So this is on the industry side, but it also provides niche market opportunities. So we have farmers such as John Barnes of Bravo Cattle or Ron Simmons of Master Blend Farms. And these guys take advantage of some of those niche markets. So that kind of drives some of my research. And this was represented recently, 2 months ago. We had a Carolina Meat Conference up in Boone, North Carolina, up in the mountains. So You know, they're going through a lot of stuff now, but we just recently had that meeting. So to support these efforts in 2022, I wrote a tobacco trust fund grant to start a program known as From Brightleaf to Berkshires. And in this program, what we did is we basically trained farmers in reproduction, so AI, nutrition, also breeding, and then we talked to them about niche market opportunities, retain ownership, and direct marketing. And we brought in professionals as well. And at the end of this program, we provide them with a hoop structure to start their operations. So this is a little blueprint of, you know, different places where the farmers came from across the state. And I thought that was pretty cool. So pig tobacco. We partnered with many national level, well, one national level, which would be the pork board, but many state agencies. We had Jan Archer. She's the former president of the National Pork Board, and she's a representative for the North Carolina Pork Council. So she came in and trained the participants, and they were able to get certifications, welfare on transport and also handling. Stephanie Coletza, she came in and talked to, or trained them, the group on waste management. And Lee Menace from NC Choices, he came and talked to the group about the different niche market and pasture raised pork options that they have in marketing. So this is me and Nina, my recent graduate, and this is her work that I'll be discussing about. Okay. So what we did is we did kind of like a plant heat stress study. So in North Carolina, we've had this pivot to niche market, but you know, you have different systems in which people employ. So what we wanted to do is compare the hoop structure system, deep bedded hay, with an outdoor system in which you would have a canopy, a wallowing area, or what have you. So what we did is we placed 12 pigs in these two systems. And what we did is we monitored them. We took blood and we weighed them over a 3-month period. So at the beginning, and then at 25-day increments during this study. And looking at these temperatures, it's actually a kind of a cool summer because it's real hot in North Carolina. All right, so from the literature, we know that above 70 degrees, pigs are gonna start experiencing some effects of heat stress. And that's gonna be show up as impacts on growth, reduction in feed intake. You're gonna get some metabolic disturbances, nutrient utilization, endocrine function, and also intestinal gut tissue. So inflammation in that caused by reactive oxygen species. So the objective of this study is we wanted to pretty much, well, we hypothesized, I say we hypothesized going into this study that the group managed outdoor or in the dry lot will have much lower or significantly lower growth rates during this period due to the stress. And then we hypothesized along with this that they will have higher levels of circulating pro and anti-inflammatory cytokines. They would have stress hormones would be represented, and that was in cortisol we measured. And then some of the growth factors would be highly elicited in these animals that had reduced, or I would say, slow growth due to heat stress. So this is a little bit of our workflow. I like that picture. That guy looks like he's focused. So we use, in this study, we use just a WW Paul trailer scale. We isolated plasma from the pigs, from the jugular, took it back to the lab, spun it down, and then isolated the plasma off of these samples. And we used in vitrogen kits for colorimetric and also ELISA analysis. And what we did is to remove plate effect, we randomly took 12 samples instead of those 12 samples so we could get that all on one plate. But our model here accounted for the production system, the growth period that's represented by those 25-day intervals, and then also interactions between that. And then this is our output in optimum density, or optical density rather. And then we could use the curve to draw that back to concentration. So what we saw is, and this has changed to represent pounds, but what we saw is it was a significant difference in growth. So we expected that. But some of the stuff we wanted to look at is insulin growth like factor 1. So these growth factors, we saw that was highly expressed in the outdoor group, right? So, and we'll talk about that in the discussion, but we also saw that it decreased every period of growth, right? And that's to be expected because this hormone is needed early on, right? To promote growth. We had CCK, so cholecystokin 8. This is responsible for gastric emptying and feed inhibition. So we saw that significantly higher in the outdoor pigs. So that pig is experiencing some heat going off feed, reducing the endogenous heat. And then we had total antioxidant capacity, and that was higher in the outdoor pigs. So this is gonna be a measurement of the hormone, the enzymes that are gonna be responsible for combating some of those ROS or reactive oxygen species produced from heat stress. So we looked at IL-B, or we looked at cytokines pro and anti, but the significant were IL-beta-1 and IL-10. So we see both are higher in the dry lot, and that could possibly be a tug of war between a cytokine that's going to be responsible for getting rid of that damage or oxidative damage tissue, and then another cytokine, anti-inflammatory, that's going to dampen that response. So from this, we concluded that hoop structure system is by far better for producing Berkshires in these alternative systems, which we would expect. But the basic science that we got from this is that there may be some physiological mechanisms at play to basically withstand or mitigate the effects of this heat stress. So pretty much to reduce the feed intake, in turn, the animals would reduce their feed intake to reduce the endogenous heat that would be produced from metabolism. And we see that by CCK, which of course is responsible for gastric emptying and feed intake reduction. And then also, they employ a response to oxidative stress that accompanies the high heat. So we see that with the IL-B to get rid of that damaged tissue from the raw species, IL-10 to kind of dampen that response, and then also combat some of the reactive oxygen species that were produced from heat stress. And of course, we know that this is just a snapshot, but that's what we see from those time points we took. Now I want to talk to you guys about the Real Pork Trust Consortium. So this is actually a group of scientists, communication specialists, and subject matter experts that are across the 5 universities, with me being NCNT. But our goal is to use science-based research, effective communication, to really give consumers enough information so they can make informed food choices. Right. And another part of this grant is to really train the future workforce of the pork industry. So that's my plug for the Real Pork Trust Consortium. I'm training 2 students on this grant, 1 PhD and 1 master's. And what we're doing now, as we speak, we have animals eating out of these fire feeders, but we're looking at the effects of growing and finishing feeds on consumption, growth and gene expression, but we're doing this in an alternative rearing environment to give an idea of, small consumers, and then also from an industry standpoint, because there's been legislation passed in California in which gestating sows are going to need 24 square feet for that pork to be sold in California. So if this legislation is spreads across the country, we may have to come up with a alternative or semi-outdoor production for that phase of production. So of course, we're looking at DDGS, guys. DDGS is dried distilled grains with solubles. It's a byproduct of ethanol production. But one of the problems is when this feed is consumed at around between 15 and 20%, you're going to see negative impacts on the carcasses, fat bellies, and it's going to throw off the protein to fat ratio in these animals. So we have several objectives with this study. The first, we want to evaluate the effects of feeding probiotics, lactobacillus, and bifidobacteria to these animals. And we're using Osborne fire feeder. So we want to see their feed intake, the average daily gain in real time. And then we want to come back and we want to harvest these tissues such as liver, duodenum, jejunum, and then look at the gene expression in those tissues. So we hypothesize that there are going to be significant differences between average daily gain, average feed intake in these animals. And we think that the DDGS xylanase probiotic supplement is going to have a synergistic effect based on what's shown in the literature. And then we lastly hypothesize that we can observe some of these differences from a gene expression standpoint in the transcriptome. So this is a look at our experimental design. So we have 15% DDGS, and then we have our probiotic, our xylanase, and our probiotic plus xylanase in the hoop structure. So our Berks are between 4 and 5.5. It should be 5.5 months. So it's a 45-day study. And it actually ends the week after next, the Thursday after next. So this is a look at our Berks. And if you ever work with Berks, they're basically like puppies. These guys are like, these guys are like our kids. But we see them going in between the races. That platform is on a load cell, and that trough is on a load cell. So they're able to feed, and we're able to get that data in real time. And we're able to go access that system by USB. And I wanted to make that big enough, but we can see how much time the animal spent feeding. We can see how much the animal weighed coming in, and also how much the animal consumed. So that's a wealth of data that we're able to get from that. So where we are now is we're gonna process those animals, 24 animals, October 16th through the 17th. And what we're gonna do is take some of those pork samples, and my colleagues over in food science are gonna do proximate analysis. And we're also gonna use the analytical chemistry lab to look at amino acids and fatty acid composition. And to help the efforts west of us, we're going to donate a lot of their pork through a meat locker so they can deliver that up in the mountains to the people that have been affected by Helene. But we're going to do a large harvesting. So liver, duodenum, jejunum, and of course, we always take the spleen. I want to see what's going on from a immunological standpoint. So this is my group. We're powered. We're woman powered. So I have 2 PhDs and 3 masters and 1 student that is accelerated bachelor's to master's. So as I told a couple of my colleagues yesterday, I'm never gonna get married. So you know, this is us at the World Pork Expo. We come out every year. This is my funding partners. I thought I forgot NEFA, so I didn't forget NEFA, Angela. And of course the North Carolina Pork Board. And this is me and Sue at graduation with Mike Persian and Raj Mirigason. And you know, it's just a real testament. I could have put an arrow right there because it shows her mentorship. And then this is us at PAG. So that's me, that's my girlfriend. Don't tell her what I said. This is my student that just finished. And it just shows her continual mentorship and also extending that to my lab group. And Sue, the lab group also says congratulations on a great career.
Thanks, Derrick.
Thank you.
Any questions for Derrick?
Huh?
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
I'm just curious to know your breed, what informed your breed choice, the Berkshire specifically,
Yeah.
compared to the commercial lines we know, the Landrace, the Large White, the Duros. So is it the predominant breed in?
It's an outdoor, it's a heritage breed that's used. So he asked, why didn't I use the traditional Land York on the female side and Duroc on the male side cross? It's the traditional breed for outdoor production. You got Durocs as well, but it's one of the heritage breeds that we use. And we do have an indoor unit. I'm gonna try to make my way in there, I promise. But we have a 250 sow indoor unit as well. So we have those breeds indoor. So we'll be doing, you know, things like cross fostering, all kind of studies like that, weaning studies and stuff like that in there. But yeah, it's just a good outdoor breed to use, robust to outdoor, and it has high meat quality. High, I would say high marblin. Huh?
Thank you. I would sound stupid, but so you talked about declining tobacco industry.
Yeah.
And you talked about pork production. So I was wondering if there's a possibility or any like feeding, using tobacco as feed additive or.
Well, feeding it to them, making sure they don't smoke it, right? I haven't seen anything regards to that, but what the tobacco, a little bit of background. So the Tobacco Trust Commission was formed because of a master settlement agreement, and that's when they sued the big tobacco companies, Lorillard, Williamson and Brown, Reynolds, you know, and Philip Morris. Those were the 4. So they actually gave money to the states. And in North Carolina, what they did is they put this in a trust fund for research and also to help the farmers that were impacted with the transition of the industry. So that's the whole background behind that grant. So some people are going into produce, My program is, to help them pivot to high-end pork production to target niche markets. Huh?
So, sorry, I just wanted to observe that, metabolome study of chicken livers.
Yeah.
We're finding nicotine,
Okay, wow.
and I'm wondering where that's coming from, because we don't allow the chickens to smoke. It's just.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. That's a good question. I don't know if it's on the harvesting, you're seeing traces of that, but I don't think that would still show up in the, yeah, I don't think that's enough. Yeah, I'm not sure, possibly in the soil, possibly, I'm not sure.
Back to the Berkshires.
Mhm.
For my graduate school, I'm doing a project on the Berkshire pigs, and I know for Iowa primarily, those are housed in the municipal buildings.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, when you compare the cook buildings and the dry land or open space,
Mhm.
what percentage of small scale farmers targeting the niche market
Yeah.
produce or raise Berkshire on dry land open space? Do they have the pigs roam around in the backyard? I'm just.
Yeah, actually, you have silver pasture as well. So they manage them and they give them access and it's free range. And actually one of my mentors, a guy, Charles Tobert, he's NC State, trained, repro guy. He actually, manages, he moved to West Virginia, but in North Carolina, he was, managing that practice. So we actually have silver pasture too. So I want to expand out to different production systems, but this is just a starting place. So, yeah.
We have time for one more question?
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.